discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All that opposed, the motion carries. Do I have a motion to certify that only items on the closed session agenda were discussed in closed session?
So moved.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Will you all join me in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, do we have a motion to approve our consent agenda from our general meeting last month?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. All right, Dr. Frazier, recognitions.
Good evening, board members and guests. I have a few recognitions for tonight. First, I'd like to start by recognizing our custodial and operations team. As you all have walked around our buildings, as our staff has returned, as our parents and community members have returned, I hope that everyone has seen how clean and updated our buildings are. And I definitely want to just shout out our custodial and operations team for the amazing job that they did this summer to make those things happen. I also just want to congratulate everyone for a successful opening of school on yesterday. Yesterday was a great day, and we just hope that the year continues to go that way. And finally, I definitely want to recognize my central office administration and my central office staff. From our instructional office to our finance, HR, technology, special education, our assistant superintendent, all of the folks together have worked extremely hard for the opening of school. Everyone worked as a team to make sure that the teachers had what they needed when they returned, to make sure that our cafeteria workers and bus drivers and all of our support staff had things that they needed. And I could not do this without my team. And so I just want to publicly thank them for all that they have done and all that they continue to do to keep this division going in the right direction. Those are all my recognitions.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we were all there yesterday, and it was very smooth, very good opening day, I guess. Everyone's here, so day 2 must have gone just as well, so that's great. Looking forward to the school year. Thank you. Presentations, end of year data.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board,
Sorry. Whoever put this together put it out there.
Wow, that was like the year review.
That's fast. Thank you for having me. So we're going to talk about our end of year data. We often talk about SOL and end of course test results, which we will go over. We're also going to review our VKRP and PALS assessments, our access scores, which are related to our English language learner students, and our growth assessments, which we have gone over previously in board meetings before. So we won't be revisiting our growth assessment data, but I wanted to point out on this slide that there is so much information that's available on our student growth. We often focus on the SOL and end of course data, but the information that the teachers have on their student growth is invaluable. Their grades, it reflects their participation, it reflects their ability to interact with their peers, it reflects their fine motor skills, it reflects the behavior expectations. So that information is really important. So we don't want to dismiss the impact that has on our students' academic progress. We also have OLSAT and Stanford Achievement Scores, which is something that we look at the elementary school level. Our special education progress reports are a tool that helps us to analyze how our students receiving specialized instruction are progressing on their IEP goals and objectives. Our English language participation plans are plans that are put in place for our English language learners. Those are plans that are reviewed every 6 months at least to help us just monitor how our EL students are doing. Our participation in extracurriculars, how are our students interacting with each other and interacting within the school community. Teacher observations and reports, student and parent surveys, locally awarded verified credits. So all of this is important data that we want to make sure that we're considering when we look at the progress that we've achieved over the course of the year. I'm going to ask my colleagues to report on their schools and buildings, and so we'll kind of be switching up a little bit. So West Point Elementary School is next.
So in our BKRP, you will see that in our preschool BPI and ECSE program, we had 85% of students performing in the growing or strong range in math, and 69% in social skills, and 82% in self-regulation. And the percentage of kindergarten students who met the benchmarks in math are 72%, social skills 80%, and self-regulation 89%. We know we have added on a BPI classroom for 3-year-olds this year, and so that just rolls up. So our PALS scores, which will be vowels. So that's the last time you're probably going to see PALS. So it's very similar. But our grade in kindergarten, we had 93% at or above benchmark. First grade, 91% at or above benchmark. Second grade, 84%, and third grade, 90%. Our social studies data, this is kind of both showing the elementary school, middle, and high. And I think it's going to move back to me and then back up. But we have our grade level for Virginia Studies. We had 97% pass in our preliminary data, which you can see is pretty consistent to 2019. So we're building back up. Civics was 83%, world history was 81%, and geography was 60%. So our reading SOL data, in our third grade, we have, and again, this is preliminary data. We're still getting information from the state. We had 79% in our third grade. Fourth grade had 97%, and our fifth grade had 73%. Our math data, again, we had 88% in third grade, fourth grade 97%, and fifth grade 89%. So science and social studies, Virginia Studies, again, was 97%, and our fifth grade science was 82%. So we're just building back up.
So high school? I have to go back. I can't remember.
Okay. All right, here we are. So reading and end of course reading and writing. 6th grade and 7th grade, we're seeing some things in the 6th and 7th grade in the 70s that we've addressed in this master schedule by having at 6th and 7th grade an enhanced English class. So kind of as I go through our data, there's some areas that we needed to address, and I'll kind of share with you how we're addressing those as we go forward. For this school year, we brought on Ms. Upshaw as a reading specialist who's collaborating in 6th and 7th grade in those enhanced English classes to really target our struggling readers. I do want to give a huge shout out to Ms. Fuller in that 11th grade end of course. She did a phenomenal job and cheered them all the way as she does to everyone. So to have a 98% pass rate on that 11th grade end of course, and of course an 89% on the writing was phenomenal. Very proud of that and very proud of her and her work there. So for math, now everybody always looks at the sixth grade, I know you hear this all the time. Please remember that at sixth grade, the top portion of that class is taken off and moved up. So not every sixth grader is taking sixth grade math. Our advanced math students are taking seventh grade math or above. So, but if you look at sixth and seventh grade math, we have some concerns. So this year in the master schedule, we shrunk the classes. Most classes in the sixth and seventh grade covered around 10 to 12 students. Ms. Foster from the elementary school came up, and we're excited to have her with her background in math, and Mr. Cole. The two of them are going to teach collaboratively. They're switching on students, and we also have Mr. Cole pushing into other math classrooms. He's just an expert there. So in eighth grade math, Algebra 1, geometry, we just have some huge success stories there. Especially the Algebra 1, our rate of pass for our students with the disabilities was incredible. Like, we had wonderful victories in that Algebra 1. So what we had done in Algebra 1 is the prior year, they took a slower version. So this was like a reteach, a preview of Algebra 1. We had Ms. Hodges with Mr. Matthews all day. So they really formed a great collaborative there. And that paid off in that Algebra 1. So we have very few students with disabilities who need any special accommodations or locally awarded credits, which is a great victory in that area. So science, we are building back and getting stronger, so we're very excited about that. I will say too, in biology, biology is the science that West Point has chosen for graduation credit, and it's tough. And if you've had Miss Bishop, you know it's tough. But she also had an incredible pass rate, not just across the board, but students with disabilities had fantastic success. Again, this is really important because they're going to need that credit for graduation. So we're very proud of her and our students' performance there. So we did loop back. So here's our civics, world history, and geography. Moving forward this year, we've rearranged some staff. We've had some staffing changes, so we're really excited to see the impact of some of that in the classroom as well.
Thank you. Okay, so you'll notice that the 2024 data says preliminary. The final results were just released today, so we will provide an update to the board because some of these numbers will change just based on some of our recovery and retest results that we will get, so we will provide an update for you. So some of our highlights are students with exceptional needs. 71% of our preschool students scored 75% or above on their kindergarten screener. We're so fortunate that we have the opportunity to have our hands on our littlest learners to prepare them for kindergarten. We love having them in our building that early and having the ability to affect their experiences very young. 100% of our first grade students passed the PALS assessment for students that are receiving specialized supports. 60% of our third grade students passed the math SOL. All of these numbers exceed the state benchmark for expectations of students with disabilities. 100% of our fourth grade students passed the reading SOL. That's amazing. 83% of our fourth grade students passed the math SOL. Our fourth grade team they just really did an amazing job with their students, all of their students and their students with disabilities last year. 57% of our fifth grade students passed the SOL. 57% of our students with disabilities passed the world geography. 95% of our students with disabilities taking the Algebra 1 SOL passed. We had a 67% pass rate in the area of writing for our students with specialized supports, 80% for end of course reading, and 73% in biology. In addition to that, we were able to award 33 locally awarded verified credits. So these were students that did not have a passing score for their SOL, but did score within a range and showed mastery of the content. So we're able to earn a locally awarded verified credit because they have credit accommodations within their IEPs. Or 504s, and that moves them towards the standard diploma. 73% of our English language learner students showed progress on their access test, and the elementary school saw the achievement gap decrease for students with disabilities in reading. So these are areas that we're extremely proud of for the 23-24 school year. For our preliminary report, both schools met accreditation standards set by the Virginia Department of Education. And then Amy, I'll let you take this part because this was your baby.
Oh goodness, I had a couple babies over the
You
summer.
did have a baby.
Just kidding. Okay. So yes, this year we expanded our summer instructional retreats. In the past, we focused on English and math, but this past summer we brought in history, social studies, and science as well. And we had 2 amazing weeks where we talked about vertical planning, pacing, scope and sequence, data-driven instruction. No, Ms. Bird doesn't call it that. Sorry. Lesson planning, how to use data, how to assess, talking through technology, planning for our subgroups, and we also had time to work together. So the relationships, the relationship building and the communicating that we were able to do as a collective was amazing. And, you think, it's the summer, are people really into it? Well, some of our teachers taught Summer Academy for 4 weeks and then came right into retreats, and they were into it. Some had a break and a little bit of time to rest, and they were into it. And then what was super cool is after the retreats, we had a couple of weeks, and then they were working on their own, and they really did the work. I'm super proud of them. Every single person who was invited to retreat came except for one, and that person had another obligation. So it was just a time for us to work together uninterrupted by any of the day-to-day problems or issues that come up during the school year, and for us to set the pace and the tone for the school year to come instructionally. And it was kind of weird because I told Dr. Frazier after the retreats, I said, we're ready for the year. And we hadn't even started with pre-service weeks yet, but it felt like as far as tier 1 and dabbling into tier 2 and tier 3 that we were ready to roll. And we have amazing staff. Our new people were there for the retreats, and so they didn't feel new. By the time school started, they had friends, and that's important. Even, of course, as adults, that's very important. So really saw some teams coming together, and it was amazing. So do you want me to keep talking, Stace, or you want to talk?
Sure, do you?
we can talk together. You may go.
Sure, we can talk together.
Yes, well, why don't you talk about SPED staffing?
Okay.
That's your...
So just in looking forward to this year, the things that we have in place for 24-25 that are going to keep us pointed in the right direction. Our secondary SPED staffing, we have our special education and 504 coordinator. We've also, we're securing that additional special education position. So we're very excited about being fully staffed at that building. We have our instructional literacy coach. So
She's in the house.
Ms. Kate Upshaw's here. Again, I've mentioned the coordinator position. We've made
I can just talk about the instructional coaching position. That was brought to us by, to our attention by the teachers. So we praised Ms. Bishop earlier for her work with biology, but also during this past school year, she spent the first of her 50 minutes, the first 10, doing a reading strategy because she realized her students weren't successful on the assessments because they couldn't read the questions. So even as tight as she plans, and she knows what she's doing every day, every minute of the day, she incorporated a quarter of that time for reading. And we realized we needed somebody who understands reading to help those teachers incorporate strategies for whole school growth model. So that was super exciting to introduce an instructional coach and a literacy coach to the secondary level. So sorry, I just lost that.
We've also made some changes to our EL service delivery model, which has allowed Mr. Westmoreland to focus on the secondary building in terms of his direct services, in addition to teaching a class for our students that need some intensive support. Some of our newcomer students who are coming with very little English. So we are excited that that class will be offered this year, and then Allison Gowers to be able to focus on the elementary school. So that is a change for us. The elementary school is continuing to look at their intervention model to be able to maximize the time and supports that they have with the student. And the middle school has developed the intervention model for their building in terms of math and reading. So those are all new things that we are implementing this year.
Right. So additional VPI classrooms. So right now we have 39 preschoolers. We're expecting a few more actually, but that's a lot of preschoolers for a division this size. And so like Ms. Roach mentioned earlier, the earlier we can get these students into school and get them learning, the better. And there have been a few tears this week out on the sidewalk with some of our 3-year-olds, but there have been a whole lot more smiles. So things are progressing, and it's an exciting space. It's like the preschool artsy PE, like all the excitement is like down at the end of the building, but it just looks great down there. So it's an exciting time for early learning for sure.
Yes, you have to visit down there. It's great.
Yeah,
it's like the little preschool wing. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
Planning time at the middle school, high school continues to be a priority. We are so happy that that time is embedded in the schedule and the scheduling process at the secondary building. Just has really been prioritized for this year. Lesson planning and the support that the teachers got this year. Dr. Hauser's done such a wonderful job with beefing up the instructional drive to provide templates and supports. We've talked a lot about how to incorporate differentiated instruction and accommodations within the lesson plans for students that require some accommodations within their plans during the day. So that's something else that we're focusing on. And then the professional development plan has been something that from the beginning we've set out to both the principals and teachers.
So now our professional learning is less more events in isolation and more just fluid, ongoing at faculty meetings, through team meetings, through all sorts of calendar invites and meetings, but continued conversations where we can learn from each other and learn from the experts about what we need to be doing in the professional sense. But it feels fluid, it feels normal, and we got a solid start this summer working together. And then with pre-service, which I'll talk about in a little while, but we're wasting. We're ready to go. So.
Thank you for your support. Questions?
Yeah, thank you. The retreats wouldn't have happened without your support. So thank you for that, because that really was a lot of work that's well on its way now, and it wouldn't be otherwise. So thank you for approving that proposal and supporting that in everything we do. So. Comments, questions, concerns, commentary, feedback.
No, just obviously thank you for the work you're doing on this big readout, right? And it's all last year, move forward.
Yeah.
It's going to take a lot of work, right? We know that it's heartbreaking to hear. We've got high schoolers that are struggling to read in biology. But that's the state of what we have right now. And so support you. We're glad that you all know it's an issue and are working hard to get it done. So thank you for all the hard work.
I do want to thank the team for their hard work. I do want to just mention that instructional coach position is not only focused on literacy. So when we have new teachers in the division, when we have teachers that need additional support in many different areas, when it just comes down to good teaching and learning, we now have a person that our chief academic officer, our teachers, our principals all can go to, and that can just help provide another level of support. And when we talk about growing teachers and growing folks into the profession, it's about having that level of support that is not necessarily someone that evaluates you, right? Someone that can truly just coach you, support you, and give you different tools to use. So we are thrilled to have this instructional coach position, and knowing that Ms. Upshaw has an elementary background where a lot of the foundation happens at the elementary level. And so a lot of those things can transcend to the secondary level. So we know that she will be a huge benefit across the division.
All right, thank you. It's a great segue because next up we have the literacy plan. Upshaw's Farm.
Yay! Thank you for having us.
I feel like I should ride in on like a white horse.
Yeah.
Every day, right?
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the literacy plan that we created. In 2022, the General Assembly passed the Literacy Act, making literacy a priority in grades K through 8. Okay. So based on the Literacy Act, the state asked us to address these points. Creating a division literacy plan, we needed to come up with a high-quality evidence-based curriculum. We need to use evidence-based literacy instruction when we're delivering the curriculum. Teachers need to be trained on the science of reading and to provide structured literacy interventions for students that are not achieving and growing at the rate that we hope they would. So these are the areas that we addressed in our literacy plan this year. So step one was coming up with our vision for literacy in West Point. So we engage all students in robust preparation for a life of continuous learning as productive citizens. And as part of that, we have a goal for our students. We want them to become fluent readers, effective writers, and engaged listeners in order to learn the curriculum, interact with text, express themselves, and explore their own interests. And in order for students to be successful, we as educators need to employ evidence-based practices to maximize student learning literacy development with an emphasis on oral language, reading fluency, writing, decoding, and encoding. So teachers need to be able to apply all of that with their learning in order to help students make the growth. So one of the steps that I mentioned was coming up with that curriculum, and we have found through research that the quality really does matter. The quality of the curriculum helps to level the playing field for students coming from all economic and ethnic backgrounds. The implementation of high-quality curriculum has a powerful and positive impact on student academic success. That's what research has found. Not only that, but having a high-quality curriculum helps teachers be experts in their field. So when we're looking at our high-quality instructional materials, we needed to find materials to use for our core literacy instruction. That's our Tier 1 reading. That's the lesson that the teacher would deliver to the entire class. It's usually delivered whole group. We needed to find something to use for supplemental instruction that would enhance our core program, and that can be delivered whole group or in small groups, like if you think about small groups that a teacher would have reading groups in a classroom. And then also we needed to address reading intervention, being able to provide explicit and evidence-based instruction
and that would be delivered in small groups. It's really intense, and plays are focused on where the child is, the student is with their reading development. So this is Scarborough's reading rope, and I really like this graphic because when you study reading, this kind of all makes sense. So to be a skilled reader, you've got to have a really good background in language comprehension. So that would be like your listening vocabulary, understanding words presented to you orally, but also you have to have automatic word recognition. So being a skilled reader is a product of the language comprehension and word recognition. So these are the two areas that we were looking for a program that would deliver that to our students.
And we found one. I'm so happy about this program. The teachers really have jumped in and really embraced it in its entirety, and that's so exciting. So as you may remember from a previous presentation, Bookworms is really great in focusing on that language comprehension side of the rope. So it has explicit vocabulary instruction that is very content specific, explicit modeling of comprehension skills, that metacognition part that's so hard to access sometimes. Emphasis on conversation and discourse. We all know as adults when we read books, we always gotta tell somebody, have you read this book? This is a great book, and because this is why, or you have a book study group, and this is helping the students learn how to do that in their classroom in a nice, safe place where they feel safe to explore those conversations. Teacher supported above grade level text. So that means that the read alouds that are happening in the classroom are above the student's grade level. But that's okay, because the teacher is reading and doing active thinking about the text and speaking about the text. So it's more, it gives everyone access, no matter what their reading level, no matter what their background. It gives the wide umbrella of everyone gets access to the text, and then they can discuss it, and then they can write about it. And then there's also grammar instruction rooted in research and sentence composition, and all these things happen daily. Well, almost daily, because we're just getting started. The other part of the rope that Bookworms focuses on is that word recognition part, which is the foundation. Really, it's hard to get all the comprehension if they don't really know what the words are. So this breaks it down into fluency building with choral and partner reading, shared reading, and then there's that foundational skills block that is aligned with the science of reading, that is data-driven and systematic and sequential. So they're getting those spelling patterns. Their spelling tests aren't focused on like a set of words. They're focused on the pattern, and then they might not know what the words are going to be in their spelling test. But if they're studying the patterns, then they'll be able to access those skills. And those spelling tests also spiral back. So they might put words in there that spelling patterns that they've already learned. So kind of say, hey, do you still remember how to do that, or do we need to reteach that? Supplemental programs that we've chosen with this include a lot of these we've been using for many years, and they're quality and approved by the state. The UFly Foundations program is the University of Florida Literacy Institute. Is a wonderful program that really takes it down to the nuts and the bolts for those kids who really need it taken down to the nuts and bolts. I worked with this program last year with some of our most struggling learners in the lower grades, and they showed great growth. So that was really great. Foundations has been a program we've been using for years, and it's well loved. And that's Bookworms has their decoding in there, but Foundations is for those kids who just aren't quite getting it. So it would serve as more of an intervention or a remediation. Lexia Core 5 is mainly used in All-In.
Our All-In students were provided Lexia logins by the state last year as part of the All-In tutoring initiative. So that can be one level of support for struggling readers.
Right. And then the Haggerty program, which is a phonemic awareness, which is all oral. So it's like this cute little group on the rug where the teacher has the manual and is doing all these hand motions and helping kids segment words or change an ending sound. We just got our pre-K books for that today, which is great. So that starts in pre-K, all the way up to 3rd grade. And our reading intervention programs are Spire, Wilson Reading, Lexia Core 5, and Bridge the Gap. Bridge the Gap is another one, is connected with Haggerty as well, community awareness. So our high quality literacy instruction is aligned with the science of reading. So our educators are trained, knowledgeable in literacy development and evidence-based instructional strategies. They're also trained in direct instruction, explicit, systematic, and sequential instruction, which is also scaffolded. So it's where the child needs the instruction. If they're not quite getting it, then they can scaffold it and break it down a little bit more to allow them to access the instruction a little bit more. What are you talking about? Yeah, here we go. So the reading research training that's happening this year is partly from in our school and partly through UVA Canvas course through the Virginia Literacy Partners, the BLP. So bookworms, we've been doing launch support. Teachers have been planning and working on implementing it. And we've had many layers of training. There was a 3-day training in July that was web-based. There's also an asynchronous level for those teachers who couldn't attend that 3-day training in July. And I'm also going to be part of a coaches cohort that starts in September, so I can continue to support the staff as they continue to dive into this program and really have fun and get to the nuts and bolts of it. And then the Canvas course through the Virginia Literacy Partnership is a course that I took as a reading specialist last year. So they're kind of stair-stepping it in, the BLP is. So last year was the reading specialists. This year it's moving more into the teachers K-8. So that should be starting at some point in September, and that is a 9 or 10 module course that is 9 or 10 months that really dives deep into each aspect of the science of reading and how it works with explicit teaching, and really I've found some really great information in that program that I did last year. So I think the teachers are going to get a lot out of it too. And we've built in time in our schedule for the teachers to be able to complete some of this coursework during their school day.
And UVA is offering this this Canvas course to all teachers K-8, so that means our content area teachers like math and science and social studies will have the opportunity to learn about reading development. That's not something that's typically in their college course of study. And as Ms. Hauser mentioned, like Ms. Bishop, using those strategies in their biology class, this will give this content area teachers a foundation in reading development to kind of do that and take on themselves. Because it's such an issue, then reading in the content area it can be difficult, reading to learn.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was happy to see it when I went up to 8. So we are also monitoring our student progress, and we do that through the Virginia Department of Education with our spring SLLs and our SLL growth assessments. The Virginia Literacy Partnership also sponsors the BKRP, which is the Kindergarten Readiness Math Assessment that we do, that you guys heard about earlier. And VALS, get used to that. PALS is history. They have adjusted it, and what's great about VALS is that it doesn't just conquer like it used to just do kind of the decoding aspect. Now it's getting more of that reading comprehension in there as well. So it's getting both sides of the road in that assessment, and that's going to be fun. We're exploring that now, because that is squeaky shiny new. But that's going to be fun to dive into.
And this year they're doing the VALS is being implemented K-3, and the middle school, we have signed up to be a pilot program for with UVA. So they'll come out and start the 4-8 assessment. We'll have some middle schoolers that will participate in that. to help them grow that assessment, and that'll give us a sneak peek. We'll be able to use the BOWS assessment in the middle school next year for like a soft launch before it's mandated by the state the following year.
We also monitor progress with the Universal Screener. We use Acadian's Reading and Dibble's 8. So Acadian's Reading is like, it's really just names.
Yes.
It really is Dibble's, but the company split and now it's two different things. But it's pretty much the same assessment, and that's that also gets both sides of the reading rope with their assessment. So Universal Screener is giving to every student in K3 3 times a year, and select our high flyers in 4th and 5th. And the diagnostic assessments are included with bookworms, like the informal decoding inventory, and then the PASS, which is upon a logical awareness screening test.
So we use that universal screener,
No, go
we
ahead.
use that universal screener, that's gonna tell us, it's gonna flag the kids that we know might have some trouble with reading, and then we'll use a diagnostic assessment as we jump in and use it to drive the instructions, so we know which areas to target. So the universal, we give to everybody, and then those that are flagged will get a diagnostic.
Thank you for your continued support. Any questions?
Thank you, thanks for having us.
Thanks for presenting, and like we said earlier, it's a daunting task, but we're glad you're here with us,
Happy to be here.
taking it on.
Awesome.
Have a good night.
Thank you, you too. Well, reports. Mr. Walker, operations update.
Good evening. Tonight, I get the opportunity to kind of share some of our projects that we completed throughout the summer to kind of freshen up the school building and prepare our schools for the upcoming school year. But I just wanted, before I start, I just want to echo Dr. Fraser's comments earlier that, obviously while we're going to hit some of the highlights tonight, it doesn't encompass everything that our custodial and maintenance staff were able to get done this summer, and the amount of work that they were able to get done to prep our school buildings for our students and staff members was quite amazing, and obviously just an awesome team that we have, and the amount of work that they've gotten done just was incredible. And so tonight I just want to talk a little bit about some of our projects that we were able to complete throughout the summer. I'll start with the elementary school. We've heard a couple times this evening that we added a pre-K 3 program, BPI program, which was another classroom for our pre-K. And so we were able to go down to the makerspace, if you're familiar with that area, across from the art classroom, and we were able to kind of clean that area out and then transform that space into a classroom. Brian and his team did a great job of going in and painting and brightening up the space. And they've installed some cabinetry and a sink in that room for the teachers and students. And then obviously, as you can see, the teacher has moved in and the room looks great. In the health and PE, or the PE in the gym area, there's a office/storage area. And if you have been there as well, and some of us have, the carpet there was old. It really needed, it was time for a replacement in that space. And so we went with LVT flooring for durability. One, it just looks great, it brightens the space. But with all the equipment coming in and out of that space, out of the gym, it was a great, it's great for durability and holding up over time. And so this was a space that we felt needed to be addressed, and we took care of that as well. And then in the cafeteria at both schools, you'll see the high school here shortly, we were able to get some painting done. We freshened up the paint, new furniture with the lunch tables. We have the stripes along the ceiling, as you can see, and then the panels, which you'll see is like something we've done a lot of our spaces, the panels that we have with the murals there. Really just kind of make the spaces more inviting and attractive to our students, and just makes it comfortable to be in that space. At the high school, some of the projects that we have, so down in that gym foyer where the big trophy case was, it was a wooden trophy case, we've removed that out of that area, and we've replaced it with a large touchscreen panel. And this is a lot of work from Mr. Leach and the athletic department to get information put into this device so that now when people come in, they can come in and touch the screen. If they want to see the Hall of Fame, they hit the Hall of Fame. It brings up all the members of the Hall of Fame. Championships, you can scroll through the banners and see all the championships. And one cool feature I learned today that I want to share is if you're there and you don't see some information there that maybe is missing, there's a QR code, I believe, that you can take a picture of and it'll send you to a Google form, and you can enter the information that you believe should be there, and that will come to us and then be verified and then added if it is verified to the software. So pretty neat. I thought was very, very innovative and really just maximizes the space too, right? We get the same information and now we have more space in that foyer. Another project that I'm very proud of our team of is our hallways at the middle school, high school. As you know, we have terrazzo flooring at the high school, middle school, and even at the elementary school. And so one of the projects that we worked on this year was shining those floors up, cleaning them up without using wax and chemicals. And so we went with a pad system. Rutherford Supply came in and trained our staff this summer. It's a 5-pad system, which starts with more of like a kind of abrasive pad. It takes off that old wax off top, levels the flooring, but also opens up the stones in the terrazzo flooring. And what happens is each pad kind of buffs it down a little bit more each time to that 5th and final polisher pad, which then gives us the shine of our floor without wax or chemicals, as you can see in the picture. And if you've been walking our hallways at the high school, middle school, you probably have seen how great our hallways look and the floors look. And our staff did an amazing job learning the system, something new, and then carrying it out this way. And it's something that we want to continue to work with. And for maintenance purposes moving forward, that finishing pad is now something that we use on our auto scrubbers and our buffer to continue to keep the shine and to maintain the floors throughout the year. So if you come into the school, our entryway, that's the window to our school. When people come in, that's the first impression they have of our buildings. And so at the high school, if you remember, we had the old kind of brown tile on the walls there. We had that painted to a gray to kind of lighten up the space. Of course, the floors were finished there, and then we had the new graphics that were installed above the doorway to really just give us that welcome feeling to West Point High School, middle school. And then the great idea there, if you look beyond the doors, you can see some of the graphics that we have on the wall there. And I fell in love with the directory. As we do screenings at sporting events and activities, we're always giving directions to where spaces are in our school building. And so for guests that are visiting, it's a great touch there so they know where they're going. And then you can see in front of the office hallway there, again, that was where the tile was that was painted gray. And then we also have another touch panel there, kind of on that space outside of the office. And then more graphics on the doorway by the library. And then our cafeteria, again, another space that we just had a lot of work done in there, new furniture. We have booth seating, round tables, high top tables. Again, with the stripe across around the ceiling there. We also had the graphics again put on the back wall. There was kind of a big white blank wall, just to brighten the space up and make it feel more welcoming and enjoyable for our students to go in for lunch. Some other things we did early in the summer. If you had walked around our property, you'd probably have seen some uneven concrete on the sidewalks, and some places were pretty uneven. And so we were able to get a company to come in and help us to raise the concrete so we can have those level and then fill in the cracks that because we want to make sure we're preventing all those trip hazards that we may have had there. And then here, you see this space you've seen in the last 2 months. There was a lot of work done in here. Brian and his staff did an amazing job of the demolition, right, of the stage light seating up front, getting rid of that, having to put in some subflooring so that we could make sure that we were able to have it ready for when we put the LVT flooring in for durability, and then all the trim work that was added down towards the bottom. Brian and his staff did a great job with that and the painting. To them and the custodial staff and the members of that team, I'm just appreciative of their work this summer because as you can see from just some of these projects, but just seeing our buildings the last 2 days at the start of the school year and how amazing they look. They did a great job. That's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Nice.
Great work. Now I'd say, we've historically tried to take care of, we do a good job of taking care of what we have, right? Like it's not cheap to build a new school. So appreciate the attention to detail and the improvements. great. All right, next report, staffing update, Zachary.
Good evening. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak with you about our staffing updates for FY25. We've had a very successful recruitment season. It started for us in January when we got a lot of information back from our employees about whether or not they would return for the FY25 school year. And so from there, in February, we started to create a recruitment plan that involved everyone in our school division as well as our community. So our employees are a very important piece of what we do, and a very important piece of the puzzle as well. And we asked them what they thought, and they went out and recruited and found other colleagues in other school divisions that were very interested in West Point, as well as talking to their friends and neighbors. So that was a very effective tool. And of course, everyone in our community, by sharing our links, once we posted those on Facebook, was also very helpful in generating more people who were interested in opportunities with us here in West Point. So we have successfully recruited for the season with 9.5 teaching positions, and we have 2 positions currently open. I think the other team talked about it a little bit more. Some of those positions were positions that we created. So we have a special education position open, and we also have a second grade teacher position open, but we are actively recruiting, actively looking for someone, and we also have a great plan for supporting our students in the meantime. So we also had 4 employee shifts to different opportunities within other buildings, just because we did look at our employees, all of their credentials, all of their endorsement areas, and we wanted to have the best people in the right places. So we had 4 moves for that reason, and then we also, of course, implemented and created those positions that the other team talked about earlier. So in all, it was a very successful recruitment season, and we look forward to the next one. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it goes without saying, there's no part of education that's not challenging right now. And I think to be in the staffing position that we are right now is a testament to your work, to everyone's work. Because all you have to do is talk to someone that works in another division, or just look around at the postings. And I think, you know, to be in the position we are, it helps a lot. So appreciate everyone's work for that. All right. Next up, action items. Oh, look at that. Dr. Howler, I am so sorry.
That's okay.
We talked so much about the first day of school.
You were here, so you probably feel like there's nothing to talk about.
Yeah. This is like the big presentation.
Oh, okay.
Dim the lights, spotlight.
Okay. Well, while Mr. Leach is pulling up where we're supposed to be, thank you. Yeah, but nothing came up, so I think it needs to be reactivated. Anyways, so you can probably feel it with the other people who have spoken before me, but there is an energy and excitement, and these are people who know how to get things moving, and everyone seems to be feeling that and vibing off of that, the teachers, the students, and everyone in the room. But great things are happening. There's a certain energy to this year that I haven't necessarily felt for a while. I don't know if my colleagues feel that way, but I certainly do. It feels like so many things are happening, and there's so much to be happy and excited about that it's just a great time to be here in West Point and starting out a school year. So as I looked through the pictures of what we would say is the opening of school, it just struck me like they're not posing for this picture. Like they're happy to be back on the first day, welcoming teachers back, and are happy to be there. So as Mr. Jenkins said earlier, you know, this is the beginning of the school year, but in many ways it felt like a sort of a continuum from everything that we did the end of last year with assessing to making sure those students were with us in Summer Academy, to staffing all of those teachers for Summer Academy. I mean, 30% of our staff taught in Summer Academy. So then having retreats, bookworms training, and then 2 weeks of pre-service. So it really felt like we kept some momentum and can start the school year with our wheels fully spinning. But yes, we started officially the year with our 2 weeks of pre-service and had our new teacher program, which is now led by Ms. Dockery, Ms. Upshaw, and myself, to officially start us out on August the 5th, and then convocation the next day. In convocation, I was unfortunately under the weather. I think I wore myself out with the new teacher program or did something, but wasn't able to participate. And I said, Dr. Frazier, did you say I was under the weather? Because all at one time I got like 40 texts saying like, I hope you're better. This is really a great speaker, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, I was running a fever and I was a little, out of it, but I was so excited to hear that and seeing the pictures of you all there. But we did have Kathleen Beachboard, who I've communicated with so much, I feel like we're becoming friends, which is a good thing, came to talk to us about how to instill hope in students and how to be a school of hope. And she's done research on, our profession, being the profession of hope. You have to believe, to be a teacher, that you can move things from point A to point B. You have to believe all students can grow and learn. You have to believe all students have potential and strengths. And so just getting our mind set for the year that we are in the place of hope. And we really are, and I've seen it. I was in a secondary classroom today and I saw hope as their theme for the year. And their students were writing on this board about hope. So just thinking about, feeling positive and that we are able to be productive citizens, and all of that continuing to flow out of Summer Academy and our work this summer, and even focusing with some of our counseling sessions this summer on instilling hope in students that you can survive in the world. So it was a great convocation. And then working through all kinds of activities and special ed trainings, and the Department of Education was here to work with us. And all kinds of faculty meetings and opening team meetings and all kinds of things happening during that week and a half, and then finishing it out with open house, which was last Wednesday. Everything's a blur, like it's going by fast but slow all at the same time. But the same thing struck me, and that's just people were glad to see each other, and they were glad to be back, and they were excited about the school year. So just, continuing that flow with our food trucks and our pep rally, and you all, a lot of you all were there for different pieces of that time, so you got to see. But it was some great things, and some great relationships were fostered and continued and began. So, and then first day of school, people were happy to be there. I didn't see any Eeyores or any poking around. We've got time for that in January and February, of course, but people were happy to be back and to get the work done, and get in a routine and see their students. And Mr. Walker, we were timing out the beginning of the school days, and we had to account for, just how many hugs were taking place and slowing down the security line. But we know that that's getting better every day. It's like, TSA needs to learn from Mr. Walker. But anyway, but we were glad to see each other and glad to be there. People were smiling in both buildings. Even the high school kids looked like they were glad that things were starting back up. So it was exciting. Except for one guy who Dr. Frazier pinched. No. I think he pinched Dr. Frazier. But he was a little sad, but that's my favorite picture because we are all here because we love students. And so, of course, Dr. Frazier was the one to make sure he was comforted and got to where he needed to be. But it was a great day yesterday. It went by super fast, but I was asleep at 8:20. So we can have a contest, see who went to sleep the earliest, probably. But then this morning, it was easy when the alarm went off to get up and be right back at the buses and see everyone this morning, too. So it was a great second day as well. but just things are off to a great start. I mean, we had our instructional core meeting right before this meeting, and the view from where I sit looks amazing instructionally, and I'm super excited and super proud. And I'm sorry that I'm up here talking about this, but this is the best team I've ever worked with, and I think it should be evident by what you've heard that we do things together. I mean, we are all working together, and I think it shows. I mean, we're presenting together and communicating together and talking, and our best ideas happen when we're together. And it's like, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And even I came home and showed my foster daughter Dr. Frazier's opening of school video, and she was like, all right! And she's 20, and she doesn't, I mean, she's like, whatever. But she was like, all right! And then yesterday she was like, hey, can I go with you to some football games? And I was like, my gosh, Dr. Frazier had an effect on her. But there's an energy and an excitement, and I think you're trending there. You're like 3,000 shares or something. So, but it just feels really good, and I think that has to do with all of us and all of you and our teachers and our students and our families and our community. This is a really special place. The stock room is up, Sean, and I took the new teachers down to the Historical Society Museum, and I've gone down there several times now and gone on my own as well, but I always hear something really fascinating that I never knew, and we just all got excited about where we were and the opportunities we have in front of us. So I think we're dangerous. We're like, go get them, hard, fast, but it's going to be a good year. It is. I can feel it. Feel it? I feel it. I feel it. Okay, so I'll sit down now and be quiet. But thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Ms. Howe.
Yes.
Doctor.
Yes.
Yes.
So Mr. Jenkins, I just say, so instead of making comments after each one of their reports, I just want to be able to say now that this is why I thanked my central office team at the very beginning of this meeting. It's because hopefully from the reports that they shared tonight and from what people have seen these last few days, you can see that this team is truly committed to children and truly committed to working with our children. Now, do things go perfectly every day? Absolutely not. We make mistakes because we're humans. And when you make a mistake, you acknowledge it and you fix it. But the folks that we have on our team are capable of doing that. The folks that we have on our team are truly focused about moving this division to the next level. And it takes all of us to work together. It is not about the community being against the school division or the school division being against the community or us not being able to work with town council or us not liking the initiatives that come down from VDOE. It's truly about working collaboratively to do what's in the best interest of children. And if you're not focused on the best interest of children, then I can't surround myself with you. But I have folks on my team that are truly focused on that. And that's what keeps us going each and every day. That's what's keeping this division pointing in the right direction. And so I am truly proud of all of the leaders that I had here, and I appreciate what they do.
Well said, Dr. Frazier. Okay, now action items. All right, first up, we have expenses and revenue. A motion to approve our expenditures and receive our revenue reports.
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Not all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All that opposed, motion carries. Likewise, our cafeteria expenditures. Do I have a motion to approve our cafeteria expenditures?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All that opposed, motion carries. Personnel. Do I have a motion to approve our personnel recommendations?
So moved.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All that opposed, motion carries. Tuition, we have approval for initial tuition student applicants for 24-25. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All that opposed, motion carries. Our last action item is our cell phone policy for the 24-25 school year. Dr. Schrader, this is just legislating our,
Yes, that is
the
just,
changes, right?
that is just approving the policy that the board put in place last school year. And so that is no cell phones during instructional time. I have shared the preliminary guidance with the board members that has come from the state. And so over the next few months, once that guidance becomes official, we will begin having conversations about how our cell phone policy could potentially change before January 1. But the policy that is presented to you tonight is only what was approved last school year before school started.
We have a motion to approve our cell phone policy.
So moved.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, the motion carries. Any other information, Dr. Frazier? All right. Let's Leach, any delegations? No delegations. Any September agenda items for our meeting on the 17th? Just let me know if you have any. If not, motion to adjourn.